if your brother wrong, go and correct him alone. If he listens to you, you have won your brother over. If on the contrary he does not listen, then take one or two people with you to be witness. If he does not listen to them neither, then turn him to the church. And if he does not listen to the church, treat him as a tax collector or as a Pharisee, as a Gentile. In the first reading today, there is a really strong message for all of us, not just for the prophet, but all of us who are people of God. And today God is saying to the prophet Ezekiel, I know that many times I send you to do jobs that are very hard to endure, but you better go and tell them, because if they die without being warned, I will hold you responsible. But if you warn them and they die of their wickedness, and you will not be held responsible. And that applies not only to the prophet, but apply to each one of us. But because by virtue of baptism, we become priestly people. We become the prophets of God, and we become part of the reign of God. And so each one of us have that same message that God gave to Ezekiel, to really go out and try to do the best we can for our neighbor. In the gospel today, Jesus gave us the command that we have to correct those who are in the wrong way. But many a time we say, I don't think so, because they are adults, they know what they are doing, it is not my business, and after all, it's not me, it's he or she is doing this. And so I do not have no power on people. But if we are going to go with that idea, then we are going to miss the boat of what St. Paul is trying to say to the Romans and to say to us today. Where there is love, there is no room for evil. And we know St. Paul mentioned the commandments. Do not steal. Do not kill. Do not hold somebody wife or anything that he has, because you are called to be brothers and sisters. And so the command of God is not just to love him, but to love him and also to love one another. That's why the commandments are separated into two groups. The first three, our relationship with God. The other seven is the relationship we have with one another. And if we observe them, there is no need for laws, there is no need for discipline, there is no need for people to be told, because they are safeguards of each one of us. And that's why today, if we have that love that St. Paul is trying to speak, then we see that there is a need. In fact, Jesus said, if you go and correct your brother alone, and he listens to your correction, you have won your brother. So Jesus did not say stranger, but brother. And if he's a brother or a sister, that means he is part of a family. And that's what we are. We are the family of God. We are the mystical body of Christ, the church. And because we are the mystical body of God, we are building each other. And so when somebody is astray, we need to go after him and try to bring him back. How many times, we hear in the news that somebody, a boat overturned and people were about to drown, and there was somebody who threw them, a piece of wood, or he threw them a piece of plastic or whatever it is to bring them safe at shore. Or many times they jump themselves, risk their life to bring them to the shore because you want to save their lives, and this is the greatest gift. That's why sometimes they are called heroes. Well, if we are going to save a man or a woman for 60, 70 years of age, how much more we do it for the salvation of eternity of that individual. Eternity, dear people, is the salvation that God gave to every one of us. And if we really love each other, we need to take off our pride or all our excuses, and we are going to do sometimes the dirty work. Do you like to correct people? Unfortunately, it's not the greatest gift that we like and then endorse every time that turn around. But we have to do it. Because in the course of this, we are winning our brother, our sister over. And we are winning them over because we are so much concerned about the salvation of one another. Remember what God said in the first reading to the prophet Ezekiel. If you correct them and they do not listen, I don't hold you responsible. But if you don't correct them and they are lost, I will hold you responsible. And that is because each one of us, by virtue of baptism, we become also the prophets of the Almighty. Not only we are anointed to be His chosen people, but also we are His messengers. We are the one who voice His message. We are the one who reach out to others. So that together we can build, and that's why we are called to be kings, to build the church. And how we build the church? By our servitude towards the members of the church. My dear people, to correct people is not easy. Many times it comes to be a task, but you have to. It's like that father who sees his son who is out of order. Many times he is hearing or he experiences, because of the smell that comes from his lips, that he is drinking, and also he is coming from places while intoxicated, and he's behind the wheel. And the father has the obligation to correct that son. He will sit him down and say, yes, listen, I don't ask you not to associate with friends. I don't ask you not to drink, because you are a young man and this is what they do, young people. But for the love of God, please do not take more than you can take in your system and then go behind the wheel, because you are going to kill somebody, you are going to destroy your life, and you are going to make us so much miserable, because if something happened to you, we are the one who suffer most. So out of respect for us and respect for yourself and also respect for others, please don't drink and drive. The same thing you do for some people in your family who abuse some substance. Why? Because you want the best for your child. You want the best for your people. And that is why we correct, because we love, and because you love, you are concerned. And because you are concerned, you go out of your way to really show the way to these young people who sometimes, because of their foolishness and lack of experience, sometimes they do things that are not proper. But somebody has to do this job. And that's why St. Paul today reminds us that we are people who love God. And if we love God, we have to obey His commands. But if somebody who loves God and because of the fragility of nature break one of these commands, we are not there to chastise him, to make him feel little, but to bring him back. How are we going to do it? And that is the trick. How are we going to do it? Many times, if you are a teacher in a classroom and the child is doing something that you don't like, after you give him a look, and after you try to go and even touch his back, and even sometimes you go and try to point to the book where we are, he continues to instill in you that aggravation. And sometimes instead of being gentle at that time, you know what you want to do with that child. Get out, go to the principal's office, and then I will talk to you later. Unfortunately, sometimes that is the only way to safeguard the community of the classroom. But many times there is a way and the way how to do it. First of all, you have to weigh your time. Number two, you have to weigh your words. Number three, you have to understand that you are not there to put people down, because like you, they have the dignity of a human being. So although you are going to show them the mistake, you have to show them that you are still loving. Jesus said, if he does not listen from you, if he does not listen to the witnesses, if he does not listen to the church, treat him like a Gentile or a publican, tax collector. But if we go to the treatment that Jesus showed to the tax collector, I don't think that Jesus even shunned them. Look at Matthew, a man who was very much in love with what he is doing, collecting the taxes for the Romans, hated by the Jews, loved by the Romans. But Jesus, in the course of his life, he called Zacchaeus to come down from the trade. He called Matthew to follow him. Why? Because he wants to dine with them. He wants them to bring them to salvation. And that is the role of each one of us. What about the Gentiles? Look what Jesus said to the disciples before he went to heaven. Go now and teach all nations. And those who hear you and accept the message, baptize them. And this is not just for the Jews, but the entire world. Go into the whole world and preach the good news. So when we speak, Jesus said to treat them like a Gentile and like a tax collector, we also have another side of Jesus, how he dealt with these people. My dear people, the responsibility of us is to build the church. And to build the church, we are not concerned about that we are all right, but especially about them, about our brothers and sisters who by their life, by their actions, by their lifestyle have denied or neglect to follow the law of the Lord. As we go to the celebration of the Mass today, although it is very hard to correct, let's ask the Lord to give us the strength, to give us the attitude, to give us that love, that when my brother and sister have went a different way from the salvation of their souls, we have to pray and we have to approach the situation with love so that we can win them again to the fold of our Master. God bless you.